Hey everybody, hope you're having a wonderful day. So, what I've got here is the addendum to my previous 1.0.7 Friends vs. Friends tier list, which I will be linking in the description. So, if you want to give that a look before you watch this, it will help you quite a bit, but I know it's pretty long, so don't be afraid to tune in and watch all the same. Hope you enjoy it. So, chat, here we are. This is the tier list. We're here. Back once again. So, what's changed in Friends vs. Friends since the last time we talked about this? Sweeping updates to all sorts of cards, buffs, nerfs, things of that nature, which we're going to go through now. So let me pull up my handy dandy community page for Friends vs. Friends. This one. Okay. So, with Baba's Laundromat, we got a few more cards. You got Slow Reload, Quick Reload, Silent Steps Akimbo, Disarm, Bouncy Wall, Clown Shoes, Ninja Smoke, Berserker, and Painkillers. All very good cards in their one way or another. Besides maybe Clown Shoes and Silent Steps. First big balance changes. They lowered Katana damage to 35 to 40. They lowered Bomb damage to 90-100 from 150 to 180. They also lowered Sticky Bomb damage from 140 to 175 to 90 to 100. These were desperate changes that the game needed, and I am so proud of the devs for taking care of that. It was very solid. It was a very good step, and they would adjust it again later. They increased the cost of Tin Man, which is very fair. Tin Man's an incredibly strong card. I still run it. Outside of like running Titan right now, because I think Titan is better. Phantom Bullet's duration got reduced. Predator Vision duration got reduced. Vampire Bullet's health regeneration got reduced. 10%. Nuke's cost got reduced, which Nukatov was still a thing in this. And for those of you who don't know, the Nukatov method is where you would use the nuke card, and you would throw a Molotov at their feet right before you popped the nuke. It would trap them in place, and they would still take damage over time. Obviously, this would lead to some issues where for the cost of you could use 4 points and literally kill someone. Like, they had no counterplay to it. It was brutal. Turret buff, Kaboomer buff ish. It got a sight buff, but got a health reduction and a projectile speed increase. It's currently bugged though. Does that still work? It does not work. They adjusted that last patch, actually. I mean, well, like I said, we're gonna run through all the patch notes, so I'll try to come back and cover those as well. Medkit health bonus got increased. Move speed got reduced a little. They lowered the damage bonus from steel bullets. They increased the radius of flash grenade and increased the duration of smoke grenade significantly. It went to 20 to 30 seconds rather than 8 to 12. They buffed the health recovery from Love Letter, which is awesome. And then they nerfed Ninja Log slightly. So it increased the speed bonus but lowered the invisible state duration. So you moved much faster, which I like. And then they, of course, they doubled the duration of Pixel Vision to 15 to 20 seconds, which definitely made it a little more viable. So, scrolling up here, let me take a look here. They changed the footstep sound effects rework, so step, landing, and falling sounds don't get cropped out if the player starts crouching, so you can still hear them. Kind of. What else was there? The Smitty content update came out, and they added Boira and Laika's third-person animations. They fixed some clipping issues, which is good. Not really things we're looking at right now. Silent Steps was kind of busted for a time because the card effect wouldn't wear off after a round. And then Ranked got added to FVF. So this... I haven't looked at this, actually. So the way this was being layered on top of the existing matchmaking system in Friends vs. Friends and was added to the game and will be the default way to play. After completing a match, your own individual performance is measured, as well as the differences between you and your rivals. This will enable you to rank up, presented by a visual reward in-game. The above point will go some way to addressing another key issue, which is people being matched with someone of an equivalent skill level. Any unlockables, wins, and losses you currently have are carried over, 16 different ranks. You get ranks from winning and losing. You can see a player's ranking and tier in their profile picture, and it will be viewable via a menu in-game. Excellent. Excellent change. From there, our next big changelog comes from 1.1.8. This made it so parley couldn't be used to cheese people with explosives and things of that nature. Big head, pretty much all of the value cards got adjusted to some extent. Main reason being, in 2v2s, these cards could get incredibly oppressive. If someone double casted Big Head, your head was ginormous. Double casted health down, the person was down 100 HP at start. That became very, very oppressive. And a lot of these changes, I believe, were to address that. Additionally, we still are waiting on that cards on the table post, which I'm very excited about. Kind of looking up, we get the balance update. This is another big one. So little Lars got the damage reduction on Thick Coat reduced from 90% to 40%. This is asked for the moment the bomb meta became a thing. So the second that bomb meta kind of surfaced, it realized very quickly that Lars was going to be an incredibly oppressive character. So that was good. They buffed Spike, which is good. I like Spike. So I think that buff was nice. It's like a 4% damage increase. It's not that big. At that point, they also buffed Duck Anderson's heal and Donnie B's max health, which is pretty big. Especially in the case of Duck Anderson. And that extra healing that you get from your healing cards definitely comes into play when we look at things like Barb cards in the future. It actually was addressed in the same update. So we see a second katana nerf here, where they reduce the amount of ammo you get, which, if you didn't know, every time you're shot at, you consume 1 ammunition, and of course, your damage blocked is whatever you block with the katana. So this change reduced the ammo and made it so you only got 40% damage reduction versus 90% at minimum, and then 95 to 45% at maximum, which was pretty big. At this point, we also see the Puncher get a buff / nerf. It got a mag size increase, but then got a max damage and minimum damage reduction. So a little less damage, 1 more in the mag. Which with that gun, I don't really think a mag size increase is too big, considering you can you reload it like a shotgun. We see another bomb nerf, by the way, which is kind of nuts to think about. So went from 100 to 70 and 90 to 60, which I think at that point is when bombs became kind of off meta. You also see the Barb cards nerf here. Barb cards is still pretty oppressive, but there's counterplay now, in my opinion. That increase of that extra 8 health per card popped really allows for some counterplay again. Additionally, we see the buff to Titan, where Titan's outgoing damage got increased a lot and still has the damage reduction. Very strong card right now. Okay, so that's pretty much every update there covered. Sorry for the flashbang. There's got to be a way to dark mode this. Ah, much better. Okay. So, here's our original tier list. First things first, we're going to adjust the cards that are currently on here, and then we're going to introduce the new cards. So we're going to go from left to right, all the way from A, all the way down to the friends. So, S tier, Boomstick. Boomstick is still there. Boomstick is still one of the best guns of the game. Vampire Bullets got the health regeneration reduced. Honestly, I still think it's really good. It has lots of combinations with things like Heartless. The sustain is really solid in 2s. So, with that in mind, I am going to drop it to A, but it is a very high A card. Barb cards nerf made it not essential to run anymore, but still a very good card, going to A. Energy Drink. If it wasn't, I should not have ranked this as high as I did at first. I really think it's like an A card. Nowadays, though, I'd argue it's probably an S. It's a pretty good card. Health Up only got better. Medkit, I just grabbed that because I was thinking of Health Up. Medkit goes straight up there. It's an essential card. Energy Drink is an insane card. The reload speed buff, the movement speed buff, I think it's also an accuracy buff. Let's go check. Let's go check. I'm streaming this a little differently now, so I can actually go do this. So if I recall, it actually shows this in game. Yeah, so you get an extra 30% accuracy too. It is such a clutch card. This card will help you win so many gunfights that you have no right winning. It might as well just be like the anti. It's an opposite of a medkit, effectively. So definitely think it is an S tier card. Something that for 1 cost, I would run it. I would run it in every deck I have. Medkit Steel Bullets did get a little worse. I'd put it in A. I'd actually argue that a lot of like the balance really made it so there's a lot less outstanding cards. Swap Weapons is still just as good as it was. Guns are a big part of the game, always have been, always will be. So things like Swap Weapons and Disarm, very good cards. Health Down, not essential anymore. I would still probably run it in most of my decks. Just that minus, because they took it from 50 health to 38 health, so a little less potent. Sticky Bomb, probably still an essential run. It is a free 100 damage if you stick someone, which, I mean, that wins you rounds. Ice Block, probably uncontested one of the best cards in the game, so it will stay there. Things that... Okay, so I would argue that is where everything from S that went down is going. Now let's look at A. Leica, still A. Barbed cards we touched, Vampire, Steel Bullets, Helmet. Helmet's a high A card. Would I say it's essential? No. Would I say I run it in almost all my decks? Definitely. It's pretty easy what it does. It just makes it so you take less headshot damage. It forces your opponent to play body shots. Health Down, we talked about that. Poison Bullets? Poison Bullets is also pretty good. It has a lot of synergy with the high rate of fire weapons, and in general is just like a small boon to your damage. It's like Steel Bullets, but with extra steps. And better on high rate of fire weapons. Tin Man with a cost increase definitely sits in A now. Now it's a 4 cost, it does the same thing. Move Faster, got a nerf. It's not as good anymore. I'd rather run something like Energy Drink. I'd almost argue that it even goes a little lower than where it is right now, but we're going to keep it in A, because I'm a movement player, I like speed up. More accuracy, kind of the same vein, except I feel like accuracy is a lot stronger of a stat. More consistent shots, do more damage, kill people. Ninja Lock, still an A. Definitely still an A. Honestly, I'm going to put it in S. I'm putting it in S. I think it is an S tier card. I think Ninja Log is something I run in every single one of my decks. Even when somebody force procs it, it's good. Self-destruct device, S. This card, now that Lars has been nerfed, is effectively a stalemate card. You play this card, you run up to your opponent, and if they don't have thick skin, and they're a little bit damaged, and you press the E button, you're going to trade the round. No matter what the circumstance. If they popped 8 cards, self-destruct in 2 is crazy, I bet. Self-destruct in every mode is nuts. It's a stalemate card. And if you're going to lose a round, you now just get an extra point. Sometimes that's the difference between you winning the game or you tying the game. And things of that nature. Incredibly strong. Readable and counterable, but you gotta have the cards. And Lars, because there's not as many Lars players, you're not dealing with people that constantly have thick skin active. So going from there, Poison. Effectively, it's just Predator Vision, but it does damage, and that's about it. Empty Mag. There are better options now. Empty Mag was probably one of the stronger counters towards, what's it called? Mind-blowing at the time. As the game has progressed and people have had to play against it more often, I would still argue that Empty Mag is usable and is a decent counter towards that, but I'd still say something like Ice Block is better. And in general purpose use, that is what Empty Mag is for. That is all it is used for, is to prevent you from getting murdered during mind-blowing. I would argue something like Slow Reload is something that you'll see more commonly used. No Jump, Still just as oppressive, still really only has one card that counters it, and that would be Double Jump. For those of you who don't know, and I had this explained to me in that Snow Gaming video, the way that No Jump and Double Jump works. So if a player plays No Jump, and then a player plays Double Jump, that player can now Double Jump and not affected by the No Jump. If the player plays Double Jump and No Jump is played, the jump is still negated. It's whichever one is played most recently. So what I'm telling you is if your opponent has No Jump and you know they have No Jump in their deck, or you know they have No Jump in their hand, save your Double Jump until you get No Jumped. You can't reactively proc it. With that in mind, where did I even put Double Jump on this? I put it in B. Considering we just filled up a lot of space from bombs in our inventories, I might move that up. We're gonna move that up. I'd argue No Jump's S. I would heavily argue that No Jump is S. It's so oppressive on 2 of the 5 maps in the game, like Trucks, Islands. They play No Jump on you, they get High Ground on you, and you've lost. It's such an oppressive card, and I really hope they do find a way. I would like to see some more counters to that card, rather than things like the trap cards, which we will get into later. Sorry for the yawn. Okay. We've got, from there, I got stuck in the car wash on gas station when someone used No Jump one time. Yeah, see stuff like that. Like, it's such an oppressive card. Rubber Bullets, it did get a nerf. It now is a woo! Oh, hey, Coffee, how are you doing tonight? We're currently going through our Friends vs. Friends tier list. We're updating our YouTube one. Let me take a look. Also, yeah, happy Werewolf Wednesday to everyone for those of you who celebrate. Rubber Bullets got... You're good? I'm good! Thank you for asking. I'm really good, to be quite honest with you. This game's gotten a lot of really solid updates, and I'm really happy about where it is right now. It's been really nice getting to play a game I really like again. So let's scroll down and grab that again real fast, that exact number. It was Rubber Bullets. Yeah, so the value at max level was reduced to 20%. So it was nerfed. It is on par with Steel Bullets. They play against each other kind of in an equal spot. So wherever I'd put Steel Bullets, I would put Rubber Bullets. So, bam. Nuke, S. I'm straight up with you. I'm going to be straight up with you. Nuke and Ice Block have to probably exist on the same tier. I'd say Nuke's a lot more situational, but I feel like there's so many cases where I would use... We're gonna put it in A. It's gonna sit in A. It's high A, though. I think it's incredibly... Like, now that it's a 2 cost, it's very worth running. Titan, same boat. Double Jump counters that. Bomb Belt goes down, like... Bomb Belt goes down, like, 2 tiers. I'm gonna be real with you guys. So does Bomb. Bomb actually, I think, goes to the same tier. What else do we have here? FK is in a good spot. Golden Boyer is in a good spot. Albatross is in a good spot. I'm fine. I think all the weapons in this game are really good. I think Grasshopper is not as good. I think Golden Boyer, the fact that it has no range fall off is nuts. FK, lots of deep magazine, lots of damage, low accuracy, but it's mitigated by more accuracy, which is a very frequently used card. Albatross, for those of you who don't know, according to that Snail Gaming video I watched, when you are ADS, you have full accuracy. You have 100% accuracy, no matter how many low accuracy things or whatever. So, ADS when you shoot the gun. Unless, of course, you are confident you hit that hip fire. It's awesome as it is to hit the no-scope. ADSing will give you full accuracy. Okay. Looking at the next cards, Karatov, solid B tier option. Solid against Titan, solid against players like Tin Man, Titan, because they take, Titan takes reduced damage, but Tin Man takes full damage, and so does Heartless. Same thing with Poison. So, if you're playing against a lot of teams that are using Heartless, using Tin Man, using things of that nature, Karatov, very good. Mind Blowing, probably going in A. Honestly, it could be an S. The main reason I had of Mind Blowing there is that I feel like it's very much a use case card. You have to have bullet time. You have to have Mind Blowing, and you have to assume that the opponent doesn't have a counter to it. especially with the fact that mind-blowing can be countered by a player shoving their head into the wall or sliding their head up and looking up to the sky so their brain goes behind them. But now that bomb meta isn't as prevalent, I think it moves up a little bit. Less accuracy, it's okay. Definitely does punish your opponent. Big head, still probably in the same spot. Invisible got worse. So, if I recall exactly what happened to it, we can actually look in-game. Ooh, not like that. So you're invisible for your next attack for 10 seconds. So you don't have infinite invisibility anymore. You can still do setup, but it's not as good. Because it's not indefinite. So you only get that 10 seconds. You're not getting a move speed buff. You're not getting anything like that. And you can definitely still see people that are invisible. Move slower. It's a solid filler card. Reduces the movement speed of players. It makes it a little easier to play against a Haru player. Small mag goes down a tier. We now have slower reload, which I think is much more punishing. Kaboomer is bugged, so I'm not going to touch its ranking yet. It did get nerfed a little bit, but I'm not going to touch its ranking yet. Also, Katurret is going to sit in A comfortably still, by the way. I forgot to mention that. Until the Kaboomer is looked at and its tracking thing is fixed, we'll talk about that one. But implying it works the way it should, it got a velocity buff, it got a accuracy cone buff, and it got a damage reduction. It's more consistent now, which I think makes it a lot better. Landmine, now that bomb is nerfed, confidently goes in A tier. This is one of the few consistent sources of bomb teching someone you have now. This and sticky bomb are pretty much your play. Someone steps on it, it's 140 damage. That's a lot of damage for practically nothing. And for those of you who watched the clips earlier, the radius is incredibly generous, so even if your opponent's playing it, you can punish them. But if you play smart with it, it's incredibly good. It's a good zoning tool, it's a solid damage tool. Sticky bomb with extra steps. Looking towards the rest of that. Heartless. Heartless is a really solid card. It has so much utility and so much usage, but it requires so much enabling to work. You can't just play Heartless on its own. It's kind of mind-blowing. You play Heartless on your own, you're going to throw your heart out, the dude's going to see where your pings are, he's going to run around to the other side of the map, and he's going to shoot you in the heart, and you're dead. You can wall tech it. You can Heartless nuke. You can do all these things, right? My main reason that it stays in B is because Ice Block exists. And instead of having to deal with someone who is Heartless... What's Heartless nuke? Okay, so Heartless nuke... Heartless works by throwing your heart on the map. When you use the nuke, you change maps. The heart is no longer visible, and the opponent cannot break the heart, so they cannot kill you. The only way they can kill you at that point is by waiting you out. Which, it's not hard to outplay someone using Heartless, especially considering the nuke map is incredibly generous for that. It is incredibly cheeky. Really solid card. But, unfortunately, it requires a lot of setup. It's very risky. As opposed to a card like Mind Blowing, where the risk is, oh, I didn't kill the guy, and I popped a 2-cost card, and I wasted a card in my deck. On this, you pop Heartless poorly, you get killed, and you lose the round. Like, just straight up. I've seen some justifications, so health up cards still work. You can use Ice Block in Heartless to stall the match. So for example, you can't die in Ice Block from Heartless, so it'll keep you alive indefinitely. So there's things of that nature. There's some like very late game tech you can do with that kind of stuff. You can Ice Block on your ally's heart and do some cheesy stuff there too. Lots of very cool options. Breasthopper, it's pretty much the FK with the lower bag and less range and more accurate. And less damage, of course. So not bad, but not my first use. It's a 1-cost card. If you're playing Mick, it's cool. If you have 1 cost and you want to run a gun, it's not bad. I'd run Boira first, but it's kind of up to you. Going to C tier. Garbage Day. Still Garbage Day. Very solid card when used with things like Invisible Hand, when things like barbed cards, with things... Because Garbage Day, for those of you who don't know, shuffles your hand. It doesn't just put all the garbage in one spot, it goes throughout your hand. So the strategy that a lot of people do, or at least did, is they would play Garbage Day, then they would play Invisible Hand, and then they would play barbed cards. This way, you wouldn't know what cards you have in your hand, and you risked every time you even tried to play, you would take damage. It's definitely weaker now because they nerfed barbed cards, but they did increase the amount of cards that Garbage Day puts in your hand. I think at max, as of right now, let's take a quick peek. Garbage Day is 10 copies that go throughout your entire hand. So if you're, even if you only have 1 or 2 cards in your hand, you're going to have a really hard time figuring out where those are, and you're going to take a lot of damage for it. Love Letter, it's a meme card. It doubled the health up from it. It's still a meme card. It's a homie card. You pop it, you get 30 health, you give your opponent 30 health. You can use it with barbed cards to do some funny, but now that the health from it is better than barbed, like, it's really not worth it. Small Head, solid card. I'd rather run Helmet. Big Mag, I would personally rather run Quick Reload, but Big Mag definitely has its uses with things like the AK and the Grasshopper. Counter card. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I hate every trap card in this game that is not the 2 that are at S tier. The problem is in this game is that if you play... Okay, I gotta show you guys the cost of the cards for what I'm about to say to make sense. So in this game, there is 1 2-cost trap card, and remember, your opponent can see the cost of the trap card. There's 1 2-cost and 3 3-cost, one of which is pretty solid. The problem is, with counter card, is that instead of using something like Swap Weapons or something like that nature, the opponent knows that if you play a 3-cost card, there's a good chance, if it isn't self-destruct, that that card's going to get deleted or copied. So, for me, as kind of an experienced player and somebody that thinks about these things, when I see a 3-cost trap card come out, I'm not going to play my best card. I'm going to play something that's useless. I'm going to play a filler card. I'm going to play something that I do not need. And if I know you're running a mirror card, I'm going to throw a sticky bomb, and I'm going to make you blow yourself up. I'm going to make you feel very silly. So, don't run these cards. Just don't. It's not worth it. The only use case for counter is that it does counter 1 card each in 2v2. So if you can play it right off the rip, you might be able to catch 1 or 2 of the opponents and make them burn a good card. But like in ones, I would not recommend it. And in mirror, I would never recommend it. Never, ever. The amount of times it will benefit you will be significantly less than the amount of times it will hurt you. Yeah, I wish if mirror card didn't make you throw bombs or turrets, it would be a lot better. But it does, so we just kind of have to work with how it is. Pixel Vision, decent at long range. If you pop that and your opponent has bad eyesight, it's going to make it worse. If your opponent is at range, they're not going to be able to see you as well. You'll land more shots. The duration buff made it better. I still don't think it's better enough to denote it being outside of C tier. Because if you're close enough to a player, you can still tell the pixels that are an opponent. Invisible health is not good. I'm sorry, but if you guys didn't know, there's not only an auditory indicator for when you are low health and when your opponent is at low health. Additionally, it's pretty easy to gauge when you've taken a lot of damage. Invisible Hand has really one use case, and I think that's right with Garbage Day, just to kind of mess with your opponent's hand. The Garbage Day Invisible Hand combo is 2 points and really can throw your opponents off. So, and the way you'd want to pop that is Invisible Hand and then Garbage Day, for those of you who didn't know. Toxic Bomb is interesting. I actually need to check something on this one. So we're going to do that real fast. So, weapons of use Invisible Hand and Hot Potato. I believe it still shows the timer. It does still show the timer. So players will still be able to do the hot potato method, or still see that the hot potato exists because it's it's got that timer on it. And even then, how much damage is hot potato? I don't have it maxed, so I don't have the full damage, but I know it's not a ton. We can definitely look into that once we get to the part where I'm going to talk about hot potato. It's like 100 something a base. I swear it got nerfed. I could be wrong. Let's go take a look. Control F. Hot potato. Maybe I'm wrong. You know what? Let me take a look into it while I'm thinking about it. Because you may be right. Maybe I'm not crediting this card enough. So it's about 80 free damage. Yeah, I really do wish some of the damage numbers were a little more descriptive. The main reason Hot Potato isn't is because it's a temporal card, and they don't have the indicators for temporal cards in the game yet. It's about 80 damage. 75, 80 damage. Which is a lot. So, yeah, I definitely will be ranking it a little higher than I thought I was going to. So, thank you for telling me to look into that. Okay, where were we? Toxic Bomb. I don't believe Toxic Bomb does self-damage anymore, and I could be wrong on that. But I personally, earlier, I ran into it and I didn't take damage from it. It was very weird. But even then, I still think it kind of sits in the same realm as Smoke Bomb, where it's very niche. It's kind of a weird use case. Katana. Katana sucks now. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. It is rough being a Katana player now. They reduced the damage, they reduced your block, they reduced your ammo. The entire thing got gutted. Oh, it's D tier. I'm gonna be straight up with you. I would not run Katana under any circumstances. There's too much outplay potential. We covered Bomb Belt, we covered Bomb, we covered Small Mag. Mirror Card, we talked about Mirror Card. Smoke Bomb, going up a tier. They doubled the duration of the Smoke Bomb. It has a use case. In opponents like Titan, things of that nature, I think it's good. Wall still sucks. Really only has one use, and that is to hide the heart for Heartless. And I think there's better options, to be quite honest with you, now that Nuke's a 2 cost. Flash Bomb, I got a radius buff. Still not something I'd be using. Bear Trap, if your opponent lands in it, it's free shots. But you have to remember, just because your opponent can't move doesn't mean they can't shoot. C tier. I'm going to raise it up just a little bit. Parley, it's a gap closer card now. And unfortunately, you really can't do any funny tech during it. It's going to stay where it's at. So we're going to look at the new cards. Oh, and then we have Puncher, which for some fucking reason I didn't put in there. Puncher is... Now that explosives are a little better, it did get a damage nerf, though. I'm putting it in B. High B. Maybe even low A. It's not my playstyle, admittedly. But it's a weapon card. Weapon cards are always going to be a little higher than other cards. It has a lot of synergy with things like bigger explosions. Yeah, it definitely can be used well. Like things like if you build it with like bigger explosions and things of that nature, it can get pretty juicy. Speaking of which, bigger explosions, A tier card. If you're running bombs, you should be running bigger explosions. It is going to amp up your damage a lot. I don't remember exactly how much, but we're gonna go take a look because I was smart this time. 80%, 80%. That's insane, and that's at level 2. I think it's 100. I think it's 90 or 100 at 3. That's a lot of damage, especially considering that's going to make your sticky bombs do a lot more damage. It's going to make your landmines one shot, and it'll allow you to do damage through thick skin, to an extent, better damage. Very, very, very solid card if you're running explosives. Which, considering they are still ran, it's worth running. Bomb Lover goes right down in D. Bomb Lover bombs do 30 damage. 30 damage. And it's every time you play a card. You throw a bomb, it does 30 damage. At max. It sucks. Don't run this card. I don't care if you're running a bomb deck with bigger explosions. It's not worth it. I'm sorry. Throwing a million bombs is so boring. It's so boring. Phantom Bullets is pretty mid. They have the duration on it. Yeah, you just end up blowing yourself up. Like, you throw too many bombs and you get overwhelmed. Phantom Bullets really can only be used with, like, Poison and Predator Vision, and the duration is so low that, considering it is I believe, a 3-cost card, you're not going to have enough time to really punish the opponent without, like, a burst weapon, like a sniper. And there isn't enough ranged weapons that do that much damage that quickly. Something like Leica, maybe. But the amount of time for you to center on the target, shoot the target, I don't see where it's viable anymore, really. Or I don't see where it's something I would choose to run. It does have a use case, though, so we'll put that there. Predator Vision is just a different Poison. It's not as good as Poison, in my opinion. It doesn't do damage. I guess I'll just leave it at that. I would say it's better than... it's something that you can run in lieu of Poison. Mostly for the duration, I believe. Yeah, it's 6 seconds. The Poison ticks, I think, 6 times. So it's equal at level 1. But once you level it up, it's lasts a little longer. But of course, you're not doing any extra damage, which I would prefer to have the damage, personally. But there is a use case. Thick Skin. As long as explosives still exist in the game, as long as self-destruct is still in the game, this card is going to be S tier, in my opinion. This is something I'm going to run in every deck. Too many explosives in the game. This counters self-destruct device. It's another card that counters it, at least. Very, very good. Alright. Now we're getting into the Mick cards, the card draw cards. Card Profaner got a nerf. So it used to be your 2 most recent last used cards at maxed. That's insane. You could literally just play 2 card, like a 2-card combo, and then just play this and have a 2-card combo again. It was stupid. Way too powerful. Now it's 2 random cards. You're still getting 2 random cards from your graveyard. You can lower that pool. If you draw that early, you can manipulate that pool so well. It's nuts. S tier, easily. Very good card. Card Thief, same boat. You steal a card from your opponent. If your opponent's card holding, this is nuts. You could literally ruin their day, and if not, you're still getting a free card out of it. S tier. Extra cards. Literally Pot of Greed. S tier. It also reduces the amount of crappy cards you have to keep in your hand. Hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Reducing the amount of cards in your hand is really good. Making it so you're more statistically likely to draw one of the cards that are good in your hand by making a card in here that makes it so you draw more cards is big. You should run these. Lottery ticket. Do I even have the... Can I even see the description for lottery ticket? Does anyone have numbers on lottery ticket? I can look them up real fast, but I'm just curious. Let's take a look. Alright, so at max, it's you draw 5 cards, but it's a 20% chance to be a card from your deck versus garbage. It's a card from your deck. It's kind of the same situation. You have a pretty good chance of drawing a card. I guess it kind of sits in the same boat, although I would say it's a little more scuffed. For a 1-pointer? Okay, Tim. I see where you're coming from. But when it's maxed, that means that you have another card that you can burn and have a chance to get other cards. It's not as good as the other ones. It's still A tier. You ask me, it's still A tier. Any card in your hand that allows you to draw other cards, even if that's just to burn the card away, I still think it's worth it. Not a fan. It's a gamble card. I don't blame you. It's not for everyone. but I'm a gambler. Okay, hot potato. Hot potato. We are here. So I think I found... So, it is 100 explosive damage. You are correct. It is 100 at max. Usually you just get 4 trash cards. Yeah, I mean, that's typically what'll happen, but you draw, it's basically just use this card and draw a card, or have a chance of drawing a card. It's something I would definitely use as a deck manipulator, but I definitely respect people not wanting to run it. It is a free... Okay, Hot Potato is a free 100 damage. And effectively, for 1 cost, you completely change the direction of the match. And if you use different cards, you can punish really hard with Hot Potato. Especially in things like 2s. I'll put it in A for sure. Okay, Berserker I think is kind of cool. I like Berserker. I don't think it's necessarily the best card of the game, but I think it's funny. With Berserker, it is... Oh my gosh. Do they even have Berserker in the list yet? Let me take a look. I don't have the numbers on Berserker. It doesn't look like the wiki's been updated yet. But at base, it is damage dealt 40 and you receive 80%. It's almost just a weak Titan. I haven't used it too much though. That's from a base view. So, place that I would use Berserker. I am hesitant to use it because of the fact that that damage received and damage dealt is permanent. The place where I see that card being used is with Painkillers. With Painkillers, when this is maxed out, it's 6 seconds. 6 seconds of immortality where your health can be reduced. So what I would do is when you get to 0 health, you pop Berserker and you just shred somebody. Just TTK them out. Just melt them right off the rip. There's things like that. There's things like Heartless. There's definitely use cases for Berserker. I wish it wasn't 2 cost. I'm gonna put it is half the points of Titan. That is an excellent point, and that is why it effectively does the same thing as Titan, but for different builds. I'm putting it in A. I think it has some serious viability if you build into it. I want to explore that some more. Ninja Smoke is like Ninja Log minus the reactive nature. So with that in mind, you're getting the same speed boost, you're getting the same invisibility for a 1 cost card that you don't have to worry about your opponent shooting you, and you can just completely like gap close with that. You can do whatever you want with that. S, nutso card. Painkillers, build enabling, effectively is just more HP. It also goes in S. Immortality for 6 seconds is an incredibly viable resource. You could use that, and if you didn't know, if you heal, by the end of the duration, you live, and you don't die. So, if you pop Painkillers when you're at 0 HP, stretch out a gunfight, say in 2v2, and you get your 1, you can now pop a health card, and you just soaked up like an extra 80-90 damage for free. Which is nuts. Quick reload. I'm gonna put it in probably... I would put this in A tier. Effectively, it's like Big Mag, except in my personal use cases, I would rather reload faster than have a bigger mag. I don't have the exact numbers on it to determine if that's a viability thing, but just in my experience, I'd say Quick Reload and Big Mag fill a similar role, except there's a lot more. Can you stack it with Energy Drink? Yes, it does stack with Energy Drink. You can get an insanely fast reload. That's not where I'd use it. And also, there is to note, energy drink does effectively do the same thing, but it's on a duration base versus having it permanently as a counter to something like slow reload, which I put also an A. Slow reload sucks. I don't know about you guys. I had that used on me twice, and every time I've had that card used on me, it is anguish because I am a chronic reloader. I have to train myself to not do it. Obviously, when I get more experience playing against the card, I will, but it is so oppressive. I'd argue it's a little bit more oppressive than, say, something like a damage reduction. Very punishing card. Very solid. Silent steps. You move silently for the duration of the round. I don't think it's that nuts. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think it's that great. You can crouch walk. Crouch walking exists in the game. As long as crouch walking exists in the game, I don't see why silent footsteps are really worth it. Same with clown shoes. Clown shoes is goofy. It's really goofy, but the audio design in this game is good enough that you could know where people are. Disarm, S tier. It is swap weapons, except you get a second copy of it, and you can just remove the gun from their hand instead. So they can't just swap you. You can just get it off the playing field and be done with it. Akimbo. I haven't had the pleasure of using this yet, but I've heard great things. You have two guns. Use it with something like bullet time. You can shred people. Use it with something like mind blowing. You can literally two-tap someone with pistol. It is nuts. It is a very good card. It is basically a weapon card. If I recall, it is 3 points. Yes. Yeah, akimbo boomstick, things of that nature. It's just you have two guns. It's incredibly strong. But outside of having bullet time, you kind of have to pop a gun card for it to be good too. And you're already running a 3-cost card. So I would definitely say that most of its value comes from being able to just be really decisive. Yeah, a akimbo boomstick will one-tap at 150. Very nuts. Bouncy wall, D. It's just a wall that bounces things. I mean, man, it is what it is. It's a more expensive wall, which I don't want. Okay. 1 second, I gotta snooze this outbreak. So going over the friends rankings here. Thick coat goes down quite a bit. I would say, and this is the only ranking list, part of the ranking list where I have organized it on the tier, by the tier. And there's the perfect one. Katana Lover probably is one of the worst basic cards. It's rough. It's real rough. Behind that, I would say Brass Lover, maybe. I don't necessarily know if I would say it's worth it to be that far behind, but I really value high accuracy and I really value movement blank. Like this outside of Sable, it is totally your preference. I'd say they're all pretty well balanced now. Just kind of depending on your playstyle. Like, I'm gonna be honest, like, outside of those two, I think the world is your oyster. I think Stevie Goal is still really strong. Spawning with a Golden Boirer that has minimal damage fall off and extra damage is nuts. I think I'm a movement character. I like movement. I'd argue that Donnie Duck, nuts. Extra health every round. Stevie melts. I'd probably put Spike in front of Brass Lover. I think the buff for Spike was good, but I don't think it's enough to really push it anywhere. I'd put Thick Coat probably behind that, and then Double Jump, the health, probably accuracy, and then for me, I'm a Haru simp. I'm gonna be honest with you. I am a Haru simp. I like movement. I'm a movement player. That is what this ranking tier is based off of. I'm a movement player, and I'm trying to be fair, but I'm gonna have my biases. Runner, definitely my favorite out of all of them. I think its medicinal is incredibly strong. Having that 40 health every engagement is insane. That you can pop on the fly. I think Donnie's is also really good, but I don't like the idea of just having that health. I like being able to pop it situationally, because it lets you extend gunfights in unique ways. That's a preference thing. Like I said, I genuinely, I know it says best to worst. I'll be honest with you, it's best to, like it literally is like a freaking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 way tie outside of maybe Stevie. You have health up with Donnie though. Yes. If you have health up with Donnie, you can Donnie. You can tank shit that you just have no right tanking whatsoever. So that's kind of where I'm leaning. Like I said, I've only been playing in this meta for a couple days. This could change very quickly. I could be wrong about some things. I think I'm generally in a pretty good spot. For a generalized tier list, my focus is on 1v1s, but I definitely did consider 2v2s. So we'll just kind of leave it at that, you know? I think that's pretty fair. What do you guys say?